up? Welcome to my channel. I just had a sudden urge last night to revisit a project that I abandoned close to a year and a half ago at this point. Like, you know, those projects that you're all about it. You get like 60% of the way done and then they just sit for like 2 years. This is that project for me. This is my abandoned quilt. So as you can see, I have 3 layers here. The backstory of this quilt is that not this past like 2024 Valentine's Day, but the 2023 Valentine's Day, I was like, I'm gonna make a Valloween quilt, like Valentine's Halloween crossover, which is just an iconic genre, Valloween. I'm a big fan of this designer, Joanna Parker, and she makes these amazing different designs. You can buy her designs on fabric from Spoonflower. So I had been eyeing them for a long time. I'm a huge fan of her like home goods and things, so I own a lot of her artwork on various creatures, lots of pumpkin mans, some Christmas stuff. I was determined that I was gonna make a quilt with special fabric from her Spoonflower site, and this shit's expensive, okay? The only thing I could justify was buying like 1 yard of 2 different fabrics. And that's what I did. This is only like the second quilt blanket that I've ever made or started. The only type of patchwork I know how to do is like literally patchwork squares. I got 2 different fabrics from her. I got this Valloween print that has black cats and ghosts and hearts. And then I got this like Harlequin diamond to complement. So this is what I have. I would say it's like a lap blanket size. It's not like a full bed blanket. It's a really, really good size for just like a lap throw, like while you're crocheting or quilting or whatever. It also makes like a good decorative piece. It's all like pressed and everything. Like this is a fully done quilt topper. I probably started this at the end of 2022 actually, which is wild. I cut a solid black cotton backing piece. So I have a backing piece already cut and I cut batting. So I have batting cut too. I have all of this like literally ready to go. I just used the excuse that I wasn't gonna be able to fit it through my sewing machine because I just have like a standard home sewing machine. I was like, oh, there's no way I'm gonna be able to quilt that on my machine. What was I thinking? And I just like put it in my sewing room and said, or my craft room, and I just said, see you later. I want to readdress this project and I want to complete it because how sad to have bought special fabric, made a patchwork, cut the pieces, and then just let it sit as this unincorporated quilt. That is the project that we're gonna do in this video. I'm starting this with the intention of just working on it a little bit every day. I am going to learn a new technique through the quilting process of this quilt, and that is gonna be hand quilting, which I have always loved the look of, particularly big stitch hand quilting where you use like thick, almost embroidery floss. It's like pearl cotton, but you use a much thicker thread and a needle and you hand quilt it. And it has a very like homemade, cozy feel to it. We're gonna make a quilt. We're gonna finish a quilt. This poor abandoned quilt. She's getting finished, okay? You already know. Joanne is my wife. The first thing that I got is super simple. I just got black thread. I already have this cotton black thread, so I just got this because I know I'm gonna run out when I do the binding. So to bind this quilt, I am not going to make binding. I'm gonna use this double fold bias tape, and this is like a 1/2 inch wide. They actually make quilt binding like this as well, but it's pretty thick. And given the size of this quilt, I kind of thought the 1/2 inch thinner binding might be cuter. It would allow for the pattern in the fabric to show more. I'm trying to like not cover up as much of this special fabric that I ordered. So I just got 2 of these. I did the math and I think I just need 2, but there's a chance I could be like panic ordering more of this in a few days. So I grabbed these pearl cottons. So this is for big stitch quilting, and it's got like this really pretty texture, almost like a really thin yarn. So I got 3 white. I have no idea how much of this I need. I might need 1 of these. I might need like 10 of these. So we're gonna have to see. These are like $2 a piece too. So yikes. I got 3 white, 3 pink, and 1 red. The 1 red was more of a factor of the fact that they only had 1. But in my head, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna be hand stitching it, it would be cool to kind of, I don't know, just like allow my quilting lines to just kind of like work through the fabric, and I'm just gonna like freehand quilt it. And I'm just gonna do like swirly hand quilting. Like I could do lines, but I feel like with this fabric, it just screams go with the flow a little bit. Also, you know, I'm a beginner quilter, so don't clock how bad my like pattern placement is on some of these pieces. Like I know this is like not probably right to cut it off like that, but look, I had exactly 1 yard of each and I was treating this shit like gold. Okay, I actually pre-washed my fabric, which I never do, and I was like measuring it out. Like I was trying to get as much as I could squeezed out of this fabric, and I think I got pretty much as big of a quilt as I could from those 2 yards. I ended up just like thinking that these colors would look really, really cool kind of popping on the backing fabric. Like if it's just kind of like a mixture of all the different colors with big stitching popping through, I thought that would be really, really cool. So I went colorful for the stitching, and then we'll do black for the binding to just primarily so that when I bind it, the black stitching, when I inevitably jump off the binding with my wonky quilting lines on the machine, it will hide my mistakes better if I use black on black on black. So that's what we're doing. Over the last couple of days, I did a little bit more research on what materials people use to big stitch quilt, and a lot of people suggested using weight 8 or 10, or like 8 being the largest that you should use in pearl cotton to do big stitch quilting. And I had bought 5 gauge size pearl cotton. That's what the like little hanks that I bought were. So I went back and I got black and red pearl cotton in size 8. So this stuff is a little bit thinner, and I just got to testing. So I actually made this little quilt sandwich tester out of, I mean, it's kitten fabric, which is kind of cute, but I was testing out the stitches. So the pink ones here are the thicker pearl cotton, and then I was testing the black, which is the thinner, and I actually just like the way both look. I wasn't having too many issues with either. I kind of felt like they were both pretty similar to work with, and I used the same needle for both and it worked. I basically just took this knowledge and I just said, screw it, I'm starting. So, oh my god, I just realized my little sewing notions case is also Valentine's vibes. All I've done so far is this one line. I just did 1 black stitch, and it ends like right here because that's where my thread ran out. But I mean, I definitely, this is a little sharp for what I'm going for. I kind of wish I'd done a little less, but I don't think the overall effect, it will really matter that much. So I just started here and I just started going, and I really like the way it looks. So I think what I'm gonna do is black stitching with the thinner pearl cotton, kind of as like base quilting. So I'll just do, you know, some amount of black throughout the entire quilt, and then I can take the pins out, and then I can do more decorative stitching with the red in that size, and then also the thicker pearl cotton as well. I'm thinking it's cute. I like the black a lot, actually. And because the backing is black, you won't see it much on the back, so I do want some colorful stitching to pop through, but I think black is going to be like the majority of it. All right, so I have done some more quilting, which is very exciting. So I've basically done, the quilt is 6 blocks long and 4 blocks wide, and I basically did the black stitching for like this chunk here. So the first like half of the quilt, mostly. I mean, some of these only go to like right here,
but I'm having so much fun. I love how this looks like how you would draw like a fly going like, you know, if you were drawing like fly or bee flight marks. I think that's so cute. And this is really like executing my vision of having it like flow around the fabric. And here I actually have it doing like a little loop-de-loop, but you can't really tell, so I probably won't put the effort in for that with the black thread at least. And then this one's going down here, and this one goes quite far. And then I also have one coming like this. So that is what I've done so far. It is definitely extremely time consuming, but it's also very therapeutic. And I like that you can sit back and do it like on the couch kind of, but there's no counting like you would have with crochet or something. So it's truly mindless. And I mean, especially like around this bat right here, I just feel like you can tell just it's giving that kitschy vibe and I just love it. This heart here, I would love to go around this heart with like the pink thread and stuff like that. So I'm excited to keep working and I'm really happy with it so far.
All right, it's time to give a quilt update. Now, it has been probably a week since my last update because turns out hand quilting is very time consuming. Who would have thought? But I have made some progress, so I'll show you guys where I'm at. So I've now got black stitching going essentially throughout the quilt. Basically like at least one black stitch row going into every square of the quilt. I didn't do like a ton of lines. I just did like a basis black quilting situation. I have a few places where I do this, where I kind of like come in and it doesn't like create a line, it just goes around. Here's another one. Some of them don't go all the way to the edge, but with the binding, if I need to add like a stitch later, I could do that. So I'm happy with how that's looking so far. It's just such a cute look. It matches the fabric so well. I basically finished the basis of the black quilting, and now I'm kind of going in and adding accents. So one technique that I've always wanted to learn and do is just this super simple, I didn't actually realize how simple this is, but the technique of hand tying your quilts, which creates this like little popping off there. Yeah, you can see like it just like kind of sticks out. Literally all it is taking, I mean, whatever string, embroidery floss, thread, pearl cotton, whatever you want, whatever you can actually fit through a needle and get through the quilt, and then you just literally tie a granny knot. It helps hold the quilt together. It's just like hand tying. It's just a traditional way of quilting. So I think it looks really, really cute. So I've gone throughout the quilt, not fully. On this little square here, you can see I've got one here and here. They just look like little pucker stitches. And I'm doing all of them in red. Wherever I kind of had an area that didn't have a solid black line through it that I felt either needed to be held together in that place, or I just thought it would look cute. So I've gone throughout a little bit. I need to finish. So I have, I don't know, probably like maybe an hour more of going through and doing the hand tying. And I'm just doing it randomly. I'm not doing it like in a pattern or anything, which is kind of just how I've been quilting this entire quilt. It just goes with the vibe of this quilt and this project. We're just trying to try out new techniques and get it done. I think I have like I said, I have probably an hour left of hand tying, and then I'm gonna go through with the white and the pink pearl cotton, which I haven't used yet, and probably just accent certain pieces of the quilt, like, you know, where I have like a heart like this, I might go around it with like the white so that it adds a little bit of, you know, detail to the front, but also interest to the back of the quilt. There's still pins, so that's what you're seeing, but you really cannot see anything on the back of this quilt because the main quilting is in the black, and then wherever there's red, there's just a little nub of red. That is the update on the quilt. It's literally been 2 weeks since I started the quilt project, and I'm enjoying it a lot, but I'm ready to kind of push it along. Once I continue on and finish all of the red hand ties, I'll go through and take all the pins out. Maybe like another hour or two of just like hand quilting decoratively wherever I see fit on the quilt, just to add some color and some intrigue. And then it'll be time to cut and bind it, which is one of the worst parts, but also the end. So then once you're done with that, you have a quilt. And I cannot wait to have this as a quilt. So I ended up getting actual quilt binding. I ended up just having to order it in order to get this because they just did not have it in stock at any of my craft stores, but I ended up going with the double fold bias tape quilt binding, which is thicker. This is 0.875 inches wide. So I just wanted to do a traditional binding instead of the thinner bias tape. So I'm gonna return that one and just use this. It's time for yet another quilt update. It has been more days have passed. And I finished all of the hand tying. So all the red hand ties are done. And I just started doing the accent embroidery. So that's one of the hearts from behind. And this is what it looks like on the front. It's actually really hard to see. Hand tying is done. I did it in like 2 to 3 sittings. It's very mindless and easy, so that was nice. All right, we have a trimmed quilt. How exciting. I'm starting to go around the quilt now and pin the binding on the other side. And it's, you know, typical of my binding. It's not perfect, but it looks really cute. I'm excited. So I'm gonna just go through and do all of that. And then it's gonna be the hardest part, which is sewing it down. I cannot get these flaps on my Winnie the Pooh overalls to like lay flat. Okay. Working with these quilts, like, they're so damn big. I'm finishing it today because at this point I am over this project. I hate to say that because it's like once you put that intention, you're like making it not as fun. But to me, I'm just like, the way this has been unfinished for 2 years or whatever, I need it to be done. I think it's like 4:30ish right now, and I'm gonna be finishing it before the sun goes down. Mark my words. I'm very close. Also, I went to the eye doctor this morning, so if my eyes are extremely dilated, that is why. And my eyes are still like very sensitive and like a little bit blurry from it, so I'm like squinting, looking at, it's probably not a good idea to like try and do technical sewing when my eyes are blurry. So I just finished putting clips around the edge and I realized I definitely should have ironed it, like from the black side. I think that would have made it way more crisp and way more even. But I just clipped it all, so we're not going back. That would be crazy. All right, it's crunch time. Let's finish this damn quilt. We made it. We made it, you guys. I finished the quilt. She is fully bound, fully quilted. I am so happy with how it turned out. Now let's talk about what I actually ended up doing. So I did one big white heart embroidery that is around, not embroidery, big stitch quilting, that's around this ghost here. But ultimately, like, it wasn't adding so much to the quilt that I couldn't live without it. And I ended up just doing it as like little accents. So I have the white one. There's a little pink one down here circling this heart. And then I think I did a red one too. Yeah. So then there's a little red one going around this little double heart here. This is your sign. to go find that whip that you have sitting somewhere that you really, really want in your life, but you never had the energy to finish it. Pick it up and finish it. So that is it for this quilt project. Thank you so much for watching. I seriously appreciate you guys so much. And I will see you in the next one, and we're gonna make something else weird and cool. See ya.